Good morning. For the annual conference of Synergie, we will present an extended abstract entitled From Brand Control to Brand Co-Creation, Paradigm Shift and Emerging New Brand Perspectives. The interest in this research topic arises from its importance in the current literature. Starting from the literature review, the first aim of this working paper is to trace an evolution of branding and to define a paradigm shift between the logic of brand control and brand co-creation using Kuhn's paradigm study. The second aim is to define an integrated conceptual framework that allows us to give an holistic interpretation of brand phenomena, useful for future academic research and for managers. We start from the awareness of a radical change in brand management and in the concept of the brand itself since the 1990s. The seminal studies of Keller, Ecker, Fournier revise the traditional conception of the brand as an integrated part of the marketing mix or as an element of the corporate identity and put consumers at the center of the creation of the values and the meanings of the brand. It was in the early 2000s that the concept of co-creation was theorized. It is understood in branding as a collaborative process between consumers and company aimed at the co-creation of brand value system. The empowered consumer is placed at the center of the work process of branding. She is able to influence branding activities and decisions both positively and negatively. Studies on no-logo movements or brand hijacking phenomenon are very interesting to examine these new dynamics of branding in digital environment. The managers have to become aware of the illusion of the control over the brand. The brand, in fact, cannot be seen as a static resource, but is a continuously evolving process that deeply integrates the various value of the actors involved in the value creation process. So the concept of branding itself is now really different from the past. Brand loses its boundaries and becomes an open brand that fully integrates and accepts spontaneous and creative flows from outside, from consumer and in general from stakeholders. Alongside this concept of the open source brand as a brand that gives its ownership to consumers, the concept of the negotiated brand is very recent. In this concept, we can see an attempt by brand managers to regain some control of the brand, putting themselves in a position to solve conflicts and negotiate meanings with their stakeholders. In order to identify the paradigm shift that has taken place in branding, we use Kuhn paradigm study. And the concept of paradigms are the set of theories, beliefs, methods, tools, and implications shared by researchers and scholars of a given historical period. The two approaches of brand control and brand co-creation will be analyzed in agreement with this concept of paradigm. Then, starting from the paradigmatic analysis, the branding perspectives emerging in the broader brand co-creation paradigms will be examined and mapped in order to give the holistic and evolutionary interpretation of branding that I have seen. First of all, we analyze the two approaches on the basis of theories, assumptions, methods, tools, and implications. On the one hand, the theories from the 1916 to the 1990s, which are a full manifestation of a control managerial mentality. On the other hand, theories that move toward a shared vision of branding and co-creation. If, on the one hand, the brand is seen as a referential structure, the consumer as a passive recipient to be persuaded, and brand manager and consumers exchanges as unidirectional, on the other hand, we have a brand structure that implies a greater involvement of stakeholders. The consumers are co-creator consumers, and the exchanges between companies and customers are dyadic and bidirectional. From a predominant use of quantitative methods, we move to a greater use of qualitative or mixed methods. So, from pure marketing mix tools, we move to hybrid tools involving also digital media tools. Consequently, the implication of the two approaches are different. From a focus on control mechanism and the need to have all branding process over the control of brand managers, to the need to integrate the views of customers into branding strategies. As already pointed out, the two approaches offer a completely different and irreconcilable vision of branding and of the way of doing branding. However, it is insufficient to talk about approaches, point of view, or simple the analytical schemas. It is necessary, based on the concept of Kuhn paradigm, to talk about paradigm of brand control and paradigm of brand co-creation. Also talk about paradigm shift. But we know that the brand co-creation paradigm encompasses number of brand perspectives that have emerged in recent years. We are talking about the perspectives of negotiated brands, open source brands, and brand hijacking. Extracting from the literature some distinctive factors, in particular brand boundaries, brand communication flow, brand manager role and consumer role in branding process, branding activity, branding logic, and brand communication mix, we offer and define a comparative and holistic framework of the paradigms and different perspectives that are emerging in recent years. You can see a progressive thinking of brand boundaries that are completely absent when we consider brand hijacking perspective. From unidirectional communication flows, we pass to consider uncontrollable and unpredictable flow of communication between companies and consumers. The role of the brand managers progressively changes from controller to stimulator to negotiator until it becomes brand protector. As already said, the consumer acquired an increasingly power in the various branding processes. From being totally excluded from the value system creation to becoming essential for survival of company. We therefore notice a progressive weakening of the control logics of brand managers, and also the same branding activities move from self-referentiality to activities aimed at inclusion of stakeholders. As a consequence, the tools used in brand control logics are no longer suitable, and there is a shift from the traditional brand communication mix to the prevailing use of hybrid solutions, open source platforms, and monitoring tools. From our analysis and comparison, it is clear how consumer empowerment impacts the dynamics of brand control. The progressive empowerment of the consumers is followed by a progressive weakening of the degree of control by the company over the brand. considering a scale that goes from a maximum to a minimum degree of control of the brand by the company, and at the same time, a scale that goes from a minimum to a maximum degree of consumer empowerment, we can position the various perspectives examined, giving an evolutionary direction toward which the brand is moving. The proposed integrated conceptual framework has theoretical and practical implications. Having a holistic view of branding phenomena can be useful for branding academics, managers, and practitioners. It is useful for academics because using Kuhn's paradigm study clarified the paradigm shift, but not misusing the word paradigm. It is also useful for managers because by having a listing frame of reference, they can see where the behavior stands and develop effective strategies in line with the evolution of the branding dynamics. For practitioners, it is useful in order to become aware of the new skills they need to develop in order to keep up with the changes taking place in branding. I finished my presentation and thank you for the attention.